Take it from here, Jarrell.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the PDX Black Rose Podcast, where we highlight newsmakers and shakers in Portland's Black community. In this broadcast, we are talking about Portland's world-famous Rose Festival from the perspective of the Black entertainment experience. And across from me is the host, Mr. John Washington.
Thank y'all. We appreciate it.
I'm Jarrell Scott, and I will be here talking with Miss Leslie Goodlow. Who's better than to give us the insight of the Rose Festival than her? So, welcome. Thank you for
who
coming.
better than
Well, thank you
sister
for
in the
having
house?
me.
Don't even try that. Miss Leslie Goodlow. Don't nobody know her. They know her sister. Hello, Miss Leslie Goodlow.
Well, thank you.
Uh-huh.
It's great to be here to talk about one of my favorite things, which is the Rose Festival.
Okay, and I got a little introduction here.
Okay.
I'm going to share. So, as a young transplant from Galesburg, Illinois, Leslie moved to Portland with her family at the age of 5
Whoa.
and had her first Rose Festival experience, and that set the tone for her future. In 2007, the festival's centennial anniversary, she became the first ever African American to hold the title of Rose Festival president. Over 15 years later, she is still deeply entrenched in all things Rose Festival and has extended the tradition to her daughters. Leslie is also the Equity and Business Operations Manager for the Portland Housing Bureau. So
Welcome, Leslie. That was the welcome. Ooh.
Thank
And
you,
you
sir.
got everybody enrolled in this Rose thing.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And I know you got some screaming daughters. This thing will probably change around when they get involved with it. You know, talk to us a little bit about it. Leslie, welcome.
Well, my very first Rose Festival was in June of 1971.
Whoa.
And we lived down on San Rafael. We walked to Union Avenue, which is now MLK.
Wow.
And we watched our very first parade. And after that, we were just hooked on it. The Rosarians and the princesses is just, something when you're from a small town, Galesburg, Illinois, which nobody's ever heard of, but it's right down the street from Peoria, which most people have heard of. And it was really a big deal. And it just, it was like Disneyland for us because we didn't have a lot of money. And so going down to the carnival once a year was, it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. It was, back in the day, we got dressed. We put on our Sunday gear to go downtown on the bus. My mom might have had $20 to spend on 3 kids, but we went on rides and we had junk, cotton candy and corn dogs. And
was it always like it is now? I mean, what made y'all get attracted to it? Was it always was it a mixed bag at that time? I mean, what made it attractive? I mean, did black people go to it? I mean,
yes, it's always been. As far as I know, we always saw, at the parade, particularly, on MLK or Union, and down in this area where it comes up from the Coliseum, always black folks. Folks would, spend the night out there on the street, which I could never do. But
yeah, you see them, they put the X's out on the ground, sleep out there, hold that spot.
Yes, sleep out there on the street. So there's always been a great participation of the black community because that was our neighborhood. For a long time. That was the neighborhood. That makes really good sense. Because when you see it today, it's so much changed, So much change,
and you would never be able to associate it with a bunch of black people sitting out on the street watching this parade and being a part of it. Wow.
Exactly.
Tell us what that was like, Les.
Like I said, it was just an amazing thing. I remember when the very first Black Rosarian came down the street. It was Dick Bogle. Was the first Black Rosarian. And I remember him. I remember, when I saw the very first Black princess on a float, as a little brown girl.
Wow.
It's like, oh, my God, she's a princess. I didn't know what it was, but I knew she was on a float. And that was, like, the best thing ever to be in a parade. And, as I got older, I got into high school. I tried out for Princess. I didn't win. One of my friends won, which, was just as well. And as an adult, I was at an event with one of my coworkers whose daughter was a princess. And my high school teacher, Carol Rudy, she was on the board, and I was like, hey, I really want to do what you do. How can I do that? And she says, well, I'll nominate you the next time we have nominations open. And I think there were 14 of us that applied that year, and there were like 10 or 11 spots open. So I figured I had a pretty good chance of getting in. Based on, just I had done events for PTA at Vernon Elementary School and just was very involved in the community. So I figured I had a good shot at getting in. But I was really nervous because I wanted it really, really badly. I think I was more nervous for that than any job interview I've ever done.
Wow. And
when I got the call saying that I had been accepted on the board, I was really excited. My mother was very excited. And from then on, I was just, lots of committees, chaired many, many committees. And when I got nominated for vice president, I was like, there's no way they're going to pick me. I'm a little brown girl from Northeast Portland. I don't have no money. I don't have a big house. I don't have friends with a whole bunch of money. There ain't no way in the world they're going to let me be president of the Rose Festival.
Look at you now.
And the day I got the call, I was driving down Broadway past the Safeway. I was almost to the Safeway. And Mike Cohen called me, and he was like, hey, Leslie, you got a minute to talk? And I was like, sure, I'm driving, but go ahead. And he says, so I want to tell you what happened with nominations. And I was like, oh, well, I know I didn't get secretary. I know so-and-so got it. And he's like, well, I wasn't calling you about secretary because I'd been nominated for secretary and vice president. And he said, well, you've been nominated for vice president. I was like, well, I know I was nominated. He's like, no, we selected you.
Oh, oops.
And I was like, no, you didn't. Why are you doing that to me, Mike? And he was like, no, really, Leslie, I'm telling you the truth. I stopped my car in the middle of the street.
Wow. Screamed.
And was screaming. I could not believe that I had been, that they had chosen me. Because like I said, I'm a mid-level county bureaucrat at that point. And, no money and little bitty house. And so when the day that they did the full board election, all the black folks on the board came that day. They all sat with me. My husband couldn't be there, so they had it on speaker so he could hear. And I was like, something's going to happen that somebody's going to vote no. It's not going to be enough votes. They're not ready. They're not ready for me. And so it passed, and I became, the first black president of the Portland Rose Festival, and only the 5th woman.
Wow.
And the youngest. So to date, I was still the youngest person to ever be president of the Rose Festival. I was 41 when I got elected, or the year that I became president.
Wow, Leslie, that was a momentous feat. I mean, when you consider, the history of the Rose Festival and all that coming forward. What was it like traveling around the state and doing all that stuff when you became, what was that all like?
It was really amazing. I got to go to Taiwan.
Whoa.
With the Sister City Association, and Rich and I went with the Rose Festival Queen, and it was just absolutely an amazing trip. People treated us, just so graciously. And so we go with the Rosarians. The Prime Minister, he wears the white and the big cape. And we have the Queen, and she's got her crown, and they're introducing everybody. They introduced the Queen. We're at the one of the high schools, and they introduced the Queen, and the kids are losing their minds, just like Michael Jackson is in the house or something. So kids are losing their minds about the Queen. They introduced the Prime Minister. Everybody's losing their minds. They introduced me, and it's like,
you gotta be kidding me.
But they introduced my husband. And again, you'd have thought it was Michael Jackson in the house, because folks are losing it. It's a high school of mostly girls. He was a handsome guy. I'm gonna give him his props. Handsome guy. And I mean, the girls were losing it. So after the event, they're all trying to take pictures. They're taking pictures with Grace, who was the Queen, and taking pictures with the Prime Minister. And all these little girls are coming up to me and motioning, because they didn't speak English, if they could take a picture with my husband.
Wow.
And so they pulling chairs over and jumping over stuff to try to take a picture with him.
Wow.
And so he still gets embarrassed that I tell that story to this day. But the next day, one of the local papers ran a story about the Rose Festival Queen being in Kaohsiung. And the person who was reading it said, and they said there was an extra special guest that was accompanying the Queen. And I was like, oh, really? Who are they talking about? And they was like, oh, Denzel Washington.
Oh,
that's what. But they were joking about my husband. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So he was very embarrassed. But that was one of the great trips, going over to Pendleton for the roundup, and I just absolutely fell in love with the roundup from that year on, and I just have been over many times. I think I was just a cowgirl at heart. I have like 8 pairs of cowboy boots, and
I never know that about you.
I love going. I love the rodeo. I love going over to Pendleton.
Wow.
I know that they, it's Eastern Oregon, and they are very, Republican focused, but I've never had an issue. I've never had anybody treat me any kind of way. Never had any kind of problems when I've gone over there. So absolutely love going to Pendleton. And the other thing that I got to do that I'd never done before was go. I went to the Rose Bowl twice.
Wow.
And
that's always a good one.
Right. And to get to go to the Tournament of Roses Parade and all the festivities that go along with the Rose Bowl. So I got to do that twice. Really great experiences. Folks across the country have a lot of respect for the Rose Festival.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so when you go and people hear the Rose Festival, they're like, oh my God, you guys are so, and we're the second largest all-floral parade in the country, with Pasadena being the first.
Oh, wow.
And the year that I was president, we won Best Festival in the World.
Whoa.
And we applied for it many times, and that was the first time we won. And we beat out the Kentucky Derby. We beat out Pasadena. We beat out the Disney World. The Cherry Blossom Festival. So all of these big festivals, and Little Portland won. So I could not believe it. I sat there and I cried. I just, because we'd worked so hard that year. But it was, it really put Portland and the festival on the map after we won that.
So, from a perspective of blacks in our community, Leslie, what's in your mind? What's the draw for the black family, or the black experience, the black entertainment experience? I mean, in your mind, what's the draw? If you were to tell blacks who were apprehensive or suspect or whatever, what would you say to them about the draw? What would be a reason why they should come and do this experience that you have experienced, that you've had over your life, that has been so wonderful for you? What's the draw in your mind for them? If you were to tell them or say to them, y'all should come out and check this out, what's the draw in your mind?
Well, there's a few things. I think one of the things that I love is the junior parade. And if you've got kids, little kids or grandkids, it's a great opportunity because you can just walk up and get in the parade. You don't have to register. Last year, I have a new grandson, and so last year, me and Christopher, we decorated his stroller, and he was a little cowboy, and I put on my cowboy hat and my boots, and we went down the parade route, and just, to have, so I could have that experience with him.
Wow.
We're going to be in the parade again this year. So I think that's one of the best things about the Rose Festival, that any kid with a bike or a wagon can be in the parade. And so there's that piece. And kids are just so excited to be in that parade and to wave at their family as they're going down the street. So I would encourage anybody, if you've got a dance team or your baseball, your kid's baseball team, anybody can be in that parade, and it's a great exposure.
Wow.
It's a great opportunity for kids. Of course, I managed the Princess program for a long time.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that one. What was that
a $3,500 scholarship is nothing to sneeze at. And, my daughter was able, she was a princess in 2013, and she used her scholarship to study abroad in Africa for 2 summers.
Wow.
So,
you mean to tell me they actually get some money?
Yeah.
When they win this thing?
Yes.
That's something I never knew. Did you ever know that, Drew?
I didn't know that.
The Randall Group, they give each princess $3,500 scholarship that they can use for education, books or whatever. And so Erica saved hers, and she used it to study abroad. And so it's a great opportunity. I know a lot of girls think, oh, it's a lot of work. I got to miss out on the last couple weeks of high school. But the things that you get from it, again, $3,500.
That's a good lick for a high school person.
Right, $3,500 scholarship. You get about $4,000 worth of clothes.
Whoa.
Adidas gives, about $1,000 per girl. Shoes and a couple of outfits and duffel bags and rolling bags. And they're an amazing, amazing sponsor. Fred Meyer's a sponsor, so the girls get between $3,000 and $4,000 worth of wardrobe.
Wow.
And the opportunities to network with business people all across, the metro and across Oregon. I've had girls get jobs, get other scholarships, get internships by the folks that they've met while they've been traveling on the court.
Wow.
Wow.
How many of them are there that are chosen?
We choose 15 a year.
15.
Yeah, and I worked with the program from 2000 until 2018. So that's a lot of girls that still call me mama.
You showed them the ropes. But now, what do they do when are they ambassadors? And so when they win, do they all come together and move, or is there just one that is representational of them all, or do they just all have some kind of integral part in reaching out to the communities that they come from and being a host? What is it that they all do once they get elected?
They go through about 6 weeks of training. So they get media training, they get etiquette, they learn how to interact, how to network, and then we take them out on the road. So they go to senior homes, they go to elementary schools, they go to Rotary luncheons, they go to sponsor events, and they take the Rose Festival out to people who may not necessarily know about it or may not be able to get to it. And so they all dress alike. So it's not, so people are paying attention to what they say and not what they're wearing, because some girls, of course, come from better backgrounds. So they all wear, everything is the same from head to toe.
So they're ambassadors.
They're ambassadors of the Rose Festival.
Wow, right on.
And then we select a queen.
Of
the 15, one gets selected as queen, and then she reigns over the next year's Rose Festival.
Oh, okay.
And so they have 4 or 5 judging sessions. We pick judges from the community, which I need a judge. Looking for a judge right now.
A judge to do what?
To help pick the queen.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I just
found out
yesterday.
Some foreign might be interested in something like she always like looking at them queenie kind of things. We got to get her.
So the other thing with the Rose Festival is that people are interested in service. There's lots of opportunities to volunteer. You can bring your church group. You could bring some folks from your job, go down and help decorate a float. It's a lot of fun. It gets you involved in the building of the parade, and when the floats go by, like, hey, that's my section. I put those poppy seeds on that float right there. So there's that opportunity. So church groups or Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or sororities, fraternities, anybody can come down and volunteer, either to build floats or work with Solve to pick up trash or hand out trash bags at the parade. I come from a service family. My mother believed in service, and she instilled that in me, and so I started volunteering at a young age. My daughter Ebony started volunteering with me when she was 7 with Rose Festival. Both of my girls work coat check at events. Help put baskets together for the auction.
Wow.
And so now both of them are board members. So both of them are on the Rose
Festival. So Leslie,
board.
as she unpacking this, man, this thing is bigger than most would you look at it just when it's not just a one day kind of thing. This thing is really huge. So it's only forcing me to ask you some historical questions about how old is this Rose Festival and what's its intended. What was when it started? What was its intended purpose and that kind of stuff. I mean, what was that all about? I mean, how did it get started? Why did it get started? And how old is it?
So the 1907 was the very first Rose Festival, and it was developed after the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Gotcha.
So exposition. So the mayor and the business leaders at the time were trying to compete with Seattle. And so they had the Lewis and Clark Exposition, which was celebrating 100 years since Lewis and Clark. And so they had this, big festival to celebrate that. And they decided that they wanted to do something ongoing, again, that could compete with Seattle. And so the very first Rose Festival, they had pennies. People donated their pennies or everybody got involved. Folks had their own rose bushes, so they donated flowers to decorate cars for the very first floats. There have been car races at pretty much every Rose Festival. They've had Fleet Week pretty much at every Rose Festival. And so, 100 years later, I was president. The interesting thing is, at least for me, was that in 1907, Black people couldn't even live in Oregon.
Wow.
Yep.
And so for me to be president of the Rose Festival in a state that did not welcome Black people, Oregon was put together as a white utopia. So it was very significant for me to be president of this organization, particularly that when it started, Black people couldn't even live here. And so some other, we had our first Black Rose Festival queen in 1980, Robin Marks from Lincoln High School. But we had a junior court, and the first junior princess that was Black was in the 30s.
Wow.
So we had a Black junior princess in the 30s, but we didn't have our first Black senior princess until in the 70s.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Whoa,
So
that is really
that the
interesting.
dichotomy between little girls. So there was little girls that were Black on the junior court, but we
Wow.
didn't have anybody until on the senior court. And so since 1980, we've had 7 or 8 more girls. So in whatever that is, 43 years,
Right.
we've had 7 or 8 other Black queens, and I've worked with almost all of them.
Whoa.
So it's the impact of this on the Black community and trying to ensure that Black folks feel welcome
Right.
has been my goal
Right.
as my participation in the festival. So I always, I invite people to come to the auction because it's the festival is year round. It just doesn't pop up on on May 25th. It's like, oh, it's festival. We work on this year round. And we're always looking for board members, people
Wow.
to come and be a part and help make the decisions and put the festival on the street.
Gotcha. Let's do a cut for a second.
Hi, my name is Nicole Rose, and I am the founder of natural hair care brand Eladine. Eladine is a natural hair care brand for men and women with textured hair. Our products are made with organic fruits, vegetables, and herbs that aid in hair growth and reduce scalp inflammation and hair loss. I have 4 unique hair oils. Look But Don't Touch is an extra hair growth oil made with pomegranate, Indian gooseberry, mustard, rice, hibiscus, and it smells like pomegranate. Honor Thy Crown is a regular hair growth oil made with pumpkin, cucumber, ginger, and more, and it smells like cucumbers. No Time for Flakes is perfect for those that have dandruff or dry scalp, made with black seed oil, onions, burdock root, dandelion, and it smells like cedarwood. And So Long Itch is for those that have an itchy scalp, made with prickly pear, evening primrose, spearmint, marshmallow root, and more, and it smells like vanilla and pears. You can find my products at eladine.com.
Dear, welcome back to the second half. I'll tell you, I had no idea, Leslie, that this Rose Festival came back because if I remember, 1907, we had a bank. There was a recession.
In 1907?
In 1907,
I
they
wouldn't
made a
know. I wasn't around then.
Well, if you trace the U.S. currency, the greenback, you'll see back in that time it was actually a recessionary time back in '07. There was several of them in the United States, but '07, '06, there was seriously financial issues in the country at that time. So it was kind of really fascinating. But how did the rose get to be such an integral part of Oregon? That's sort of a history that I'm pretty much so interested in. I mean, how this rose thing came to get to Oregon?
How did it get here? So, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember her name. But when people came over on the Oregon Trail, they brought roses because they had heard that the soil in Oregon was favorable for roses to be grown.
Wow.
And so the Pittock Mansion, so Georgiana Pittock, came over on the Oregon Trail. She wasn't Pittock at that point. She married Henry Pittock, who was the original publisher of the Oregonian.
Wow.
And so they brought roses over. She came over on the Oregon Trail, and they planted roses here. And so Oregon had the very first, or Portland had the very first Rose Society. So we have the oldest Rose Society in the country. And so then that's how the roses started. Portland became the Rose City. Was through, the roses and the plants that people brought with them over the Oregon Trail. And so one of the other interesting things about the history of the festival, the Lewis and Clark Exposition, 1 million people came to Portland when there were no cars, there were no planes. People came in wagons, they came on the train. They can't, that's how they got to Portland. But 1 million people visited Portland for the Lewis and Clark Exposition.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's not even 1 million people live in Portland now.
Right.
Yeah.
But at that time, there was probably, maybe 20,000 people that lived in Portland. And 1 million people visited Portland for that festival. So it's... did a lot of great things for the city. Harry Lane was the the mayor, and that's when they started selecting a queen.
Wow.
The first couple years, the queens were selected from socialites, and then businesses were able to nominate young women to be on the court, and then folks voted. So you got 10 votes for a penny.
Wow.
And you could vote for who was going to be the queen. And they raised like $10,000 from penny votes. And that was the seed money for the next year's festival. So, I mean, though that you think about, people were bringing flowers on the trolley out of their yards. Everybody brought flowers. Everybody brought roses. Folks decorated their windows. Businesses decorated to celebrate. If you haven't watched it, I learned a lot of history about the Rose Festival from the documentary we did for the Centennial.
Wow.
It's called From One Rose.
From One Rose.
And if you need a copy, I can give you a copy.
I have
a couple
to see
extra
that.
copies. You may notice that there's somebody that you know at the end that's in it. But yeah, it's a lot of history of the Rose Festival in that documentary.
Yeah, when I think about, I actually have the two things we have in common. I actually, my alter ego is a cowboy.
Okay.
And the other one is, my favorite flower is a rose. And it's kind of fascinating when you look at it. You go up to the rose garden up, and they're always introducing new strands of roses. And there was one that's, I think it was a Princess George or something like that. I got in my backyard. It's a really pretty big, full rose. Now, so at this festival, for the parade, how many flowers do they go through around here, girl, to be able to make that parade?
Thousands.
Do they import them, or do
Yes.
they? Yeah, the flower. I was thinking about going into the flower business last year.
Yes.
That'd be good.
Yeah, we get all roses aren't the only flower that we use, but we have flowers shipped in from all over the country to the float barn, and we use all natural ingredients. For the floats.
Floats, yeah.
Seeds, beans, coconut, grass, hay, anything natural. They use it on a float. They put it on a float. They color the coconut all different colors and makes it look like hair. Rice, poppy seeds are are used a lot to do the signs for the sides of the parade, because they're so tiny, and you can be very precise with poppy seeds. But it had everything natural. Nothing unnatural on the. One year we had IKEA donate couches for the princesses to sit on, and we had to cover them
with roses.
We had to cover them with coconut or rice or something. They couldn't just be on the sides. We had to cover them so that they had all natural material on.
And that's over 50-something rose queens.
15.
So so the total, they
Each year
pick
we
them
pick
from a
50.
region?
Each high school.
So
all the Portland high schools have a princess.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then we pick 2 metro princesses, and that's one from Washington County, one from Clackamas County.
Gotcha.
And then St. Mary's, Central Catholic, David Douglas, and Park Rose.
You know them all.
Make
don't
up
you?
the rest of the yes. We have 9 Portland schools. We have 4 unaffiliated schools, and then 2 metro princesses to get to the 15.
Jarrell, did you have any idea how complicated this Rose Festival was?
No, I never had to. So,
well, boy, I'm telling you, there's a good enough reason for a person to get involved, because it's going to take the whole village to do this parade.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
get involved with this. So, Leslie, when you look at the Rose Festival and its development over the years, what have you seen go and come, and perhaps what do you hope that it can begin to evolve to? Is there a sort of vision you have for where you might want it to go, or add, or take away? Or what are some of the modifications you're looking at as you've been a part of it and looking at it? What would you add or take away at this point?
Well, over the course of 20-some years, I've seen a lot of events come and go. Like we used to do the air show out in Hillsborough, and then the Hillsborough Chamber took it over. We had the Indy car races that, because of the cost, we no longer could do that anymore. We had what was called.
It was Indy downtown. It was downtown. Didn't they run through it?
No, it was out at PIR.
At the raceway. Okay. I thought they had hay bales or something downtown where they did a race or something down there. I remember that time. Yeah.
We had a marathon or a half marathon we did for a little while. So I've seen a lot of programs come and go. And usually it's financial that causes a program to end. I think one of the things that we're really working on right now, particularly down at City Fair, is ensuring that we're giving opportunities to BIPOC vendors, restaurants, folks that have food trucks, folks to sell their art, and performers and entertainers. Stephen Bledsoe, who's the City Fair manager, has really taken to heart DEIA and ensuring that we have something for everybody down there, and that we're not just doing things the same way we've always done them and using the same vendors all the time. And because they did the t-shirts last year, we're going to let them do the t-shirts this year. And so really trying to get people that work within the festival to see that the landscape is changing. And we want to ensure that we're not leaving anybody behind.
Yes, ma'am.
We want to give everybody opportunity to participate. And so that's really where we focused a lot of our effort over the last couple of years, is changing the way that City Fair looks to provide opportunity. So we did a maker's market down there last year. I'm not sure if they're doing that again this year. We worked with Prosper and what do they call their my brain is going and
all
then the
that
down
stuff you got in your brain.
yes I know.
Go
but
ahead.
so we performers and entertainers, trying to give a different kind of perspective on what people want to hear. When I first joined the board, of course, it was in 1999. We still had a lot of folks that felt like we should just always do things the same way, and we've evolved a lot over the last 20 some odd years.
How many volunteers y'all usually go through for this Rose Festival? And then how long a
1,000.
span does it go over? It goes over how many days?
It starts the Friday before Memorial Day, and it goes through the second week of June.
So that's what, almost
About
a whole
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
About 3 weeks.
That's a lot of fairing, girl. Rose Festival, and for 3 weeks festival, and
we have a lot of events. We have what's called sanction events. So the Good in the Hood Parade is a sanction event for Rose Festival.
Really?
Yeah, has been for a long time.
Never knew that they was connected.
Yep. So they're a sanction event. I think Juneteenth is a sanction event. we have events that happen all over the place. And then we have our key events. So we have 3 parades. We have City Fair. We have the Queen's Coronation. We have, what else? Oh, we have Fleet Week. So there's events associated with the ships coming in.
Wow.
And, the Navy specifically chooses what cities that they're going to go to. And they specifically pick Portland because they always have such a good time when they come to Portland.
Oh, wow.
So is this I can't help myself. Sometimes I always try to follow the money. This a big money generator for the city?
About $65 million economic impact during the 3 weeks.
My.
Yes, between travel and tourism, restaurants.
Great motivator.
Yes.
Great motivator to keep this up. Leslie, this is getting to be more and more exciting. I don't know if I was a listener listening to this. There's so much information I would have never. I learned so much today about the Rose Festival. I've been trying to tell you. You want to play that game with her, rapid fire, real quick?
Just one more thing before you do that. So I don't think you all know that the Rose Festival is the city's official festival. So in 2010. The Rose Festival became the city's official festival.
Really? Mean that they carried in the budget, or is
they do give us a little bit of money, not a whole bunch, but they declared that the Rose Festival is the city's official festival. So they do an ordinance every year, and so all the commissioners and the mayor support the Rose Festival. They participate in events. The mayor comes to the Queen's Coronation. All of the commissioners ride in one of the parades. So we are the official festival for Portland.
Leslie, I'm sitting here listening to you, and something in my mind keeps saying, ask her this question. And this question is, out of all the things that you've been a part of in the Rose Festival, what is the one thing that stands out about this thing that you enjoy the most about it? I mean, is there a section? Is there a category? Is there one thing about it that really gets you when you experience it every year? It just gets you. What is that one thing?
Well, there's 2 things.
Okay,
there's 2.
Okay,
there's 2 that really the 2 things that have kept me coming back. It was it's working with the princesses, teenage girls.
Yeah.
And like I said, I work with a lot of young women over 20 years, and when they they graduate from college, they get married, they have babies, they're like, Mama, I'm gonna have a baby. One of the queens sent me a text message with the ultrasound picture, to announce that she was gonna have a baby. So still having that connection, that they felt that they had a connection with me, that I made a difference in their life. That's one of the things. It still makes me tear up when I hear from some of those young women.
Yeah, you about to get 1 or 2 out of me too.
And then the other thing, and I was just saying this yesterday, I was at a meeting, is when you come down that parade route and you see little kids and they're so excited, they're smiling and they're high-fiving people coming down the parade. That does it for me. It absolutely does it for me. I cannot get through a single parade without tearing up.
Wow.
Because it just touches me so much that we did this, that we're making people happy, that we're putting smiles on kids' faces. Because there's nothing better. There's absolutely nothing better than making a kid smile.
Ooh,
and so
it's
those are
overwhelming.
the 2 things.
But it takes people like you, Leslie, got the energy level. Because that's big, girl. You talking something really big. I'm almost tired. Listen, you don't think about it. And between now and then, and you've seen the city in the small time, you've been a part of this transition from a variety of different times and experiences and conditions. But COVID and Black Lives Matter and all that stuff has come through, and it seems like it's taking a toll on the city these days. I mean, so what's your forecast and what's your thoughts about those 2 coming together, the Rose Festival, in light of its happiness and joy and inspiration, the connection right now, and in terms of the state of the city? What's your thoughts about that?
Well, I'll say this: events are essential. Everybody needs, every city, everybody needs something that they can attach to, and events are essential for us to get past and get through and get to the other side.
Right.
And so that's what the Rose Festival does, is they try to bring some joy, some happiness to the citizens of Portland. and the Starlight Parade is all downtown.
Yeah.
And so we've adjusted some of our the route, but now we go down Nato Parkway, and we want people to understand it's okay to come downtown. We want you to patronize the businesses downtown. The only way it's going to come back to where it was is if people come downtown. I work downtown, so I know what it looks like, and I hope that in another 6 months or another year that it looks like it did before COVID and before all of the riots. And I know some people are still afraid to come downtown.
Yeah.
But we work really hard. We've got a whole committee that just works on safety and response. So if something does happen, we can we can manage it before anything gets out of hand. But the Grand Floral Parade is all on the east side. So we changed that route so that we could focus on the northeast side of town. So it starts at the Coliseum and it ends at the Lloyd Center.
Wow.
So folks don't even have to go downtown to see the Grand Floral Parade.
Yeah.
City Fair's down there. We got police, we got security, we've got everything in order to ensure that people feel safe coming down there. And I'll just, say it again, events are essential for us to be happy.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with that, yeah. At least to begin to introduce a different experience constantly. Jarrell, you over there, you tired? Yeah.
Tired. I'm learning
boy,
a
them people
lot.
be working hard, boy, doing what this thing is. But 3 weeks is a long time for an event to run, and so to be able to keep it consistent. So it still is, its base is still down at the waterfront, right?
The Rose Festival office is downtown right
Downtown,
there
yeah.
at what used to be the visitor center.
Yeah, or a restaurant prior to that.
It was a restaurant.
It was a good one there.
It's got a rose on it.
Yeah.
We're doing big fireworks on opening night, and we'll have a band down there, and so it'll be.
I think we'll view those fireworks this year from the water. Well, the last couple of years I did it from my boat from the water, which is a neat deal. Yeah. I enjoyed myself in that. So you want to get to these rapid fire questions you want to answer real quick? And,
Sure.
Come on.
Let's do it. All right. First question is, what 2 things would you have on your parade float?
Well, now my grandson and probably my dog Diana.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, how that old crazy dog of yours doing anyway?
Oh, she's wonderful.
Is she killing any birds yet?
No, but I was gone for 12 days, and so now she's like my shadow. I can't walk around in the house without her. She's like attached to my hip.
Bird dog, that don't kill birds, don't get no birds. Go ahead. Go for it, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for letting us know.
What is your favorite city fair ride?
I don't go on rides.
Okay.
I'm not a ride person.
Okay. I'm not either.
But probably if I will go on with my little niece, the twister, the thing with the cart, and I know y'all can't see me. I don't know if I'm on camera, but where you get in and the thing, and then you kind of twirl around like that. I don't like stuff that goes up in the sky. I don't like roller coasters.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the teacups.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
What's your favorite colored rose?
Pink.
Pink. Okay. And Starlight Parade or the Grand Floral Parade?
Starlight Parade.
That was like picking your favorite kid or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you like the milk carton boat race or the dragon boat race?
Dragon boat races.
Okay. And would you rather judge the Rose Garden Contest or the Rose Festival Princesses?
The roses, because they don't cry if they don't win.
Oh.
Nobody's feelings are hurt if I pick a rose.
Okay. And then last question is, one thing you'd paint for an art show?
What would I paint for an art show? It'd probably be flowers. They wouldn't. They wouldn't be great, but I could paint some. Okay. Nobody would buy it.
Okay. Well, that's all the random questions I had. So.
Okay.
Leslie, in your infinite wisdom about this, which is just phenomenal. Yeah, the insight you possess with this information on this. But usually, what I do in this show, when people have that much insight and wisdom, they also have the foresight to recognize that I might have not asked them a question that I might have should have asked them, And is there anything that in your mind right now that you're thinking about that our listeners should hear and know about the Rose Festival at this point?
Well, I think the biggest thing that people should know, that I would want people to know, is that you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be white, you don't have to have a business, you don't have to know people to be on the Rose Festival board. Like I said, I'm a little brown girl from Northeast Portland. And, my dad barely graduated from high school. My mother had 1 year of college. My dad was a manual laborer, and my mom was a secretary. So, they'd never had a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money, and I was able to be successful within this organization because I worked hard and I wanted it. And so when people see us, when they see the Rose Festival, I hope folks think when they see me and they see my daughters now that, hey, I can do that. That's an organization that I could be a part of, that I want to be a part of that so I can help shape the future for the next 100 years.
Wow.
And so that's what I would want people to know.
Whoa, this was this exciting episode of PDX Black Rose. Today we had Leslie with us today on this Rose Festival, and let me tell you something, y'all. I don't know if any of y'all listening, but y'all gonna keep on listening when you hear this one, because she just lit it up and told us a little bit about some things we didn't know nothing about. But we glad to have known a little bit about this thing. 1907, y'all, and it's still running. And we trying to improve and have more fun. So let's bring some joy to this year's festival and this year's Rose Festival, and let's get out there and support it and do the things that we need to do. And Leslie, thank you for coming to the house today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Jarrell, take it on out.
All right. This is PDX Black Rose Podcast. Thank you, Leslie, for coming in. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.
There you go.